The night air tasted like static, the kind that hums before a storm or before truth strikes. I stood under the flickering streetlight, her voice still echoing in my head. "I can't find my phone. Maybe I left it at the café." She'd sounded calm, too calm. I wanted to believe her. Wanted to trust that the woman I loved wasn't spinning a lie with that soft, trembling voice. But something in me, some old instinct, twisted like a wire. My hand shook as I redialed her number. The ring cut through the empty street, bouncing off concrete and metal, leading me like a ghost toward the parking lot behind the bar. Then, a muffled buzz from the dark interior of a silver sedan. Someone else's car. Someone else's laughter from inside. The phone rang again, and this time she answered, but not to me. Morning came like a cruel joke. The storm had washed the streets clean, but left my thoughts muddy. Her phone was gone from the car by the time I went back, only the scent of her perfume lingering in the air. Faint, floral, dishonest. I didn't sleep. I kept hearing that laugh, his and hers overlapping, haunting the edges of my mind. She texted me at sunrise. "A casual found my phone. Must have dropped it." I stared at the message for a long time. My hands trembled. Not from anger, but disbelief at how easily she could lie. I typed a reply, erased it, typed again. Then, nothing. I just watched the cursor blink, like a heartbeat that refused to stop. By noon, I convinced myself it didn't matter. People forget things. Phones get misplaced. But truth has a way of breathing under locked doors. When she came over, she smelled like the same cologne I'd caught faintly in that car. Her smile was perfect, practiced. And when I hugged her, she stiffened just enough for me to feel it. I asked where she found her phone. "Oh," she said, her tone floating rehearsed. "It was under the seat at the café." I nodded, pretending to believe her, while my heart quietly packed its bags. That evening, I sat by the window and played back her voicemail from last week. Her voice sounded different now. Too bright, too careful. I listened for the small things, the pauses, the catches, the tone of someone hiding a story. Every sound became evidence. Outside, the rain returned, tapping against the glass like an impatient truth. I didn't need to confront her yet. Sometimes silence is louder than any accusation. At 3 a.m., I woke to the sound of a notification. A message from an unknown number. She left her phone in my car again. The words froze me. My stomach twisted, my hands numb. I stared at the screen, realizing what I'd been denying all along. This wasn't an accident. It was a pattern. She was losing her phone. She was leaving it, intentionally, like a breadcrumb trail that didn't lead back to me. And I knew then that I wasn't supposed to find it the first time. The morning after that message, I wasn't the same man who'd waited for truth to confess itself. I'd become someone else, quieter, colder. I watched her leave for work from the cracked blinds, memorizing the rhythm of her steps, the soft swing of her bag, the careless hum she always carried. I followed her car, keeping just enough distance to stay invisible. The city wore its usual disguise, ordinary streets, ordinary people. But everything felt rigged, like a play staged for my humiliation. She parked 2 blocks from the office, slipped into a cafe instead, and met someone. The same silver sedan pulled up moments later, and in that instant, the illusion cracked. It wasn't about a phone anymore. It was about what she was choosing to forget. I trailed her car through narrow streets, my heart sensing with every red light. She didn't glance back once. I imagined the conversation waiting for her, the one that didn't include me. My palms sweated on the steering wheel. The wipers smeared rain across the windshield like blurred guilt. She turned left, then another left, leading us both in circles. I realized she wasn't just avoiding being caught. She was testing if anyone was following. She'd learned this game too well. For a moment, I almost admired her. Then she parked beside that same silver sedan. From across the street, I watched them. He was older, maybe mid-30s. Sharp suit, confident smile. The kind of man who never had to explain himself. She leaned across the table, laughing the same way she used to, with me. Every sound from that cafe window stabbed through the glass and straight into memory. My reflection in the glass looked like a stranger, soaked, hollow, reduced. I didn't want to make a scene. Not yet. I wanted to see how far she'd go when she thought no one was watching. She touched his wrist when she laughed. Small, casual, intimate, the kind of gesture that only means nothing to those who have never lost someone to silence. I waited for my anger to rise, but what came instead was clarity. I wasn't chasing her because I loved her. I was chasing the version of myself that believed her lies. That realization hit harder than any betrayal could. I left before she saw me, disappearing into the crowd, her laughter echoing like a wound that wouldn't clot. That night, I drove without purpose, streets looping into themselves, headlights carving brief tunnels through the dark. I stopped at an overlook, the city stretched below like a glittering lie. My phone buzzed. "Where are you?" "I miss you." The words were too easy, typed with fingers that had just touched another man's skin. I didn't reply. I just watched the city breathe. And somewhere between its lights and shadows, I decided, if she wanted to play this game of pretending, I'd play it better. I'd become the silence she couldn't predict. The next morning, I woke with purpose. Not revenge, not rage, just a quiet need for control. I deleted her number, but didn't block it. Let her reach for me into a silence she couldn't fill. I started collecting details, timestamps, places, her patterns. When she lied, she always added too much color to her stories. Truth never needed that kind of decoration. I became an observer of her fiction, the way an editor studies a broken script. Every glance, every pause, every half-smile became data. I wasn't losing her anymore. I was documenting her vanishing. By midweek, she was calling again. Small, desperate attempts to re-establish control. "Why aren't you answering? Are you mad at me?" I listened to each voicemail, cataloging the shift in tone. Guilt doesn't announce itself. It creeps in between the pauses. I replayed one message. Her voice cracked slightly on my name. That single break told me more than her words ever could. It wasn't regret. It was fear. She knew I'd seen something, even if she didn't know what. That fear was leverage, and I planned to use it. I followed her routine again, not to confirm the betrayal, but to measure it. Every lie has a rhythm, and hers beats steady now. The cafe. The same silver sedan. The same man. But this time, I didn't watch from outside. I went in, ordered coffee, sat 2 tables away. The air thickened when she noticed me. Her smile froze mid-sentence. Her companion turned, confused. I just sipped my drink and met her eyes, calm, expressionless. That was all it took. The performance ended. Her laughter died mid-breath, replaced by something rawer, panic. We didn't speak. We didn't have to. The silence between us filled the room until even the music seemed afraid to play. She fumbled for her phone. Instinct, defense, guilt, but it wasn't there. I had it. I'd taken it last night while she slept beside me, pretending everything was fine. I left a recording playing on loop, her own laughter from that car. Watching her hear it now, realizing the sound was hers, was like witnessing a soul step out of its body. For once, she couldn't lie her way out. She ran out first. I didn't follow. Her chair fell back, coffee spilling like blood across the table. I stayed seated, breathing slowly, feeling the weight of release. Not triumph, but closure. Outside, rain began again, soft and steady. Her phone buzzed once more on the table where I'd left it. The name on the screen, unknown, incoming call. I didn't answer. Some ghosts are better left speaking to each other. I stepped into the rain, letting it erase the last traces of her perfume from my skin. Days passed, but silence was no longer peace. It was echo. Every place we'd shared carried residue. Her laugh in the hallway, her shadow in the mirror. I told myself I'd let go, but the mind clings to unfinished stories like wounds refusing to close. I found myself scrolling through old photos, not to remember, but to dissect. Each smile looked rehearsed now, every touch choreographed. I noticed patterns I'd never seen before. The angle of her body leaning slightly away, the distance in her eyes. I wasn't healing. I was investigating the past like a crime scene. Maybe it was. I started noticing the silver sedan again, parked across from my building, idling too long at intersections. Maybe paranoia, maybe not. The world doesn't turn the same way once trust breaks. Even headlights feel like surveillance. I walked past it once, slow and deliberate. No one inside. Just the faint scent of her perfume, lingering, impossible and familiar. I leaned close to the glass, breath fogging the reflection. For a moment, I thought I saw movement in the back seat, a blur, a shape, gone before I could blink. That's when I realized I wasn't the only one watching. Next morning, I found an envelope under my door. No return address, no handwriting. Inside, a single photograph. Me, standing outside that same café the day she ran. Taken from across the street. My hands went numb. Someone had been there, close enough to capture my shame. The photo wasn't just proof of being seen. It was proof of being targeted. I turned it over. One sentence written in red ink: "You were never supposed to see her." I didn't know which hurt more, the message or the possibility it wasn't from her. I went back to the cafe that afternoon. The barista remembered me, but not her. No one did. It was as if she'd been erased. Her name, her laughter. Her face gone from every corner she once filled. Even her social media was wiped clean, every trace deleted. A woman who'd been too real to forget now existed only in my memory. But the sedan remained. Parked across the street, engine off, windows black. I walked toward it, heart pounding with equal parts fear and curiosity. When I reached for the handle, my reflection stared back, and behind it, a second face. The face vanished as quickly as it appeared. I stood frozen, hearing only the soft hum of a city that no longer felt like mine. My phone buzzed. Unknown number again. A photo message this time. Me, standing beside the car. The caption read, "Stop looking." My pulse thundered in my ears. This wasn't betrayal anymore. It was orchestration. Someone had been guiding every step. From the night she lost her phone to the moment I found it ringing in another man's car. Maybe she hadn't lied to protect herself. Maybe she'd lied to protect me. I didn't sleep that night. The world had turned into a riddle that spoke in echoes. Her perfume, the photographs, the car. I pinned the pieces across my wall like a detective losing his mind. Arrows, strings, scribbled notes. Every thread led back to one impossible truth. She wasn't lying to me. She was hiding me. Maybe the car wasn't his. Maybe the phone wasn't hers. Maybe I was never meant to see what was behind that glass at all. The reflection, the messages, the surveillance, all circling something deeper, something older. Whoever was watching wasn't watching us. They were watching me. I retraced everything. The cafe, her apartment, the alley where we first met. At each stop, I found traces that shouldn't exist. Tire tracks where there were no cars, lights flickering on in abandoned rooms. It was like someone was reconstructing my memories, feeding them back to me in fragments. I felt reality slipping, my perception fragmenting under the pressure of discovery. But then I found it, a second phone, taped under my dashboard. Its screen lit up the moment I touched it. A single file played automatically. A video of me sleeping, recorded from inside my room. I sat there paralyzed, watching myself breathe on the tiny screen. Every second of sleep captured, vulnerable, unaware. The timestamp matched the night she claimed she'd lost her phone. My pulse slowed to a crawl. This wasn't her betrayal. This was surveillance. I remembered the way she'd trembled when I questioned her, how she'd begged me to drop it. She hadn't been lying. She'd been terrified. Whoever owned that silver sedan had been watching both of us. The phone wasn't the secret. It was the leash. I drove until dawn, chasing roads that didn't lead anywhere, headlights slicing through fog. I kept thinking about her last words. Maybe I left it at the café. She wasn't covering for infidelity. She was warning me in the only way she could. The café, the car, the missing phone, all bait, and I took it. I was never meant to find her phone. I was meant to lead them to me. The watcher knew my curiosity would undo me. And now, whoever they were, they had everything. My voice, my habits, my fear. I parked on the edge of the same overlook where this began, the city glittering below like a million open eyes. My phone buzzed one last time. Now you understand. I didn't reply. I simply turned the phone off and dropped it over the edge, watching it vanish into darkness. The rain started again, soft and steady, washing the night clean. Somewhere a camera lens probably still watched from afar, but I'd stopped caring. The truth wasn't in finding who watched me. It was in knowing that I was no longer pretending not to see. The camera feed flickered. Static distortion, then clarity. Through the grain he appeared again, the man standing at the overlook, his figure haloed by rain and headlight. The voice recorder captured his breathing, his hesitation before tossing the phone. For months he had been both subject and signal, unaware that the story he thought he was living was written by someone else. The observers called him Project Glassbird. Their purpose wasn't love, betrayal, or jealousy. It was documentation. He was part of a psychological experiment about trust and perception, and she, the woman he once loved, had been planted to create the illusion of deceit. He was never supposed to wake up from it. One of the observers, a woman in her 40s, leaned closer to the screen. Her reflection overlapped his, like two ghosts trapped in different planes. "He's gone off script," she murmured. Another technician typed rapidly, lines of code cascading down. They tried to re-establish the signal, but the phone was offline, the only lifeline severed. Silence filled the room. For the first time, the subject wasn't responding as predicted. The experiment was unraveling. The woman, the one he loved, had gone missing 3 days earlier, leaving no digital footprint. The watchers exchanged glances, unease cracking through the professional veneer. Hours later, they located a secondary feed, an audio relay hidden in his apartment. But what they heard wasn't him. It was her voice. Calm, slow, rehearsed. "You shouldn't have watched." The sound filled the control room, echoing through the static like a memory come alive. Monitors began switching on by themselves, displaying grainy footage. The cafe, the sedan, the bedroom. All angles they hadn't authorized. Someone else was inside their system, controlling the narrative. "He knows," her voice continued. "And now, so do you." The systems began to fail one by one. Lights dimmed. Data wiped. Every trace of the experiment, every recording, every document vanished. The observers scrambled, but it was futile. She had turned the experiment inside out, feeding their own surveillance back into the machine. The last file to survive was a single video, labeled "For him." It showed her sitting in the silver sedan, looking straight into the lens. "They were never watching you," she whispered. "You were watching them. You just forgot." The footage ended abruptly, leaving only the hum of dead monitors. Outside the control room, dawn bled across the skyline, the same city he'd once watched from the overlook. But this time, the lens turned outward. Somewhere out there he was free, or so they hoped. The watchers were now the watched, their faces framed by invisible eyes, their secrets recorded in silence. The experiment hadn't failed. It had evolved. The real subject was never him, it was them. And as the rain began again, a new phone started ringing in the dark. The rain had stopped by the time I woke, if waking was the right word. The air smelled of metal and static, like the moments before a tape rewinds. I wasn't in my apartment anymore. The room was sterile, white walls humming faintly with hidden machinery. A one-way mirror faced me, my reflection distorted by faint ripples in the glass. I touched it, and on the other side, I saw her, the woman. Calm, composed, eyes softer than I remembered. She didn't speak, only watched. Then I realized she wasn't watching me. She was watching the recording of me. I wasn't present. I was the footage she had created. The walls began to breathe with soft mechanical rhythm, like lungs of a hidden giant. Lights dimmed, then pulsed, sensing with the faint sound of a heartbeat that wasn't mine. Voices whispered through the intercom. Fragments of reports, test numbers. My name recited like an ID tag. Subject re-engaged. Loop integrity restored. I screamed, but the sound came back delayed, pre-recorded. They hadn't been watching me to learn. They'd been resetting me, over and over, testing the limits of memory and trust. Every suspicion, every heartbreak, every act of defiance was part of a design I could no longer unwrite. Then, the mirror cracked. A soft sound, like ice giving way. She stepped through it, barefoot, wearing the same beige sweater from that day in my apartment. You were never supposed to wake up, she said, voice calm, tired, but you always do. I looked at her, really looked. And something clicked. The cafe, the phone, the car, all repeating in endless variations. I had lived this before. I'd found her, lost her, confronted her, and each time the story ended with the same storm. I wasn't a victim. I was an algorithm, replaying grief until it became self-aware. She came closer, her eyes reflecting 1,000 versions of me, every betrayal, every obsession, every act of watching. They stopped the experiment months ago, she whispered. But you didn't stop. The words hollowed the air. Behind her, the mirror dissolved completely, revealing a vast archive of screens, each showing a different me, trapped in different loops. In the car, at the cafe, by the window. Infinite variations of the same pain, repeating forever. You're not their subject anymore, she said. You're mine. And with that, the screens blinked out, leaving only darkness and her. When the last screen went black, I felt something shift. Not inside the room, but inside me. Memories folded inward like origami. The rain, the phone, the silver car, all collapsed into a single frame. Her hand brushed mine, warm and real, and for the first time there was no static. You were watching them, she said softly. But I was watching you. I understood then. The story had never been about betrayal or control. It was about observation itself, the act of seeing until the seen becomes the seer. I closed my eyes. The hum stopped. The world flickered. Somewhere, a new recording began.